Hey, so the feds just raised the rates another quarter
Ag-
percent.
Again, what's wrong with those people?
Damn,
I don't
feds.
Yay. And then the Dream for All program that went away in 2 days is supposed to be doing a resurgence at the end of the year. The funding is supposed to be back. They have not given us a date. I'm going to all of my people that want to do that program, make sure that they get that class done. It's $99. It lasts for 12 months. And that way they're that much further ahead of the crowd. But it's still going to be like picking a lottery number because there's only going to be 200 million, which goes very quickly.
Wow, 200 million. What is that, like 25 people?
Yeah, exactly. In California, yeah.
Yeah.
But we closed one in our office, which was really random that first round. So it was like winning the lotto, though. But yeah, so feds raised the rates. They say that they're leaving it open to raise one more time this year. I'm already preparing all of my clients for the refis next year. I'm sending out stuff to them. And I'm also starting to do, I got a really great home equity line of credit program. So that my clients that have 3%, I'm coaching them. If they do need cash, let's not get rid of that. Let's just do a home equity line of credit. So that is all.
Real quick on the home equity line, I know that's actually not a very common thing from the broker world. It usually comes from like a credit union or stuff like that. Right. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. What I'm requiring is, so if they want 20,000, they need to go to their credit union or their bank, right? So I have a client right now that is doing a big remodel and a little bit of an addition. So they need 150,000. What I told my other clients that wanted 20,000, I said, hey, if you take the $150,000 draw and then just pay it back, there's no prepayment penalty to pay it back, then I can do it for you. Our rates are really competitive, but I don't want to quote it because it really, obviously it depends on the CLTV, what their FICO is, all that good stuff. But the broker world is dipping into that a little bit more. I would always just refer them away. But for me, it's not worth it unless it's at 150 or more. So I'm still, the box is still a little bit small.
Gotcha. Okay. Good to know. Good to know. Cause people ask me all the time and I tell them, hey, you go to Golden One.
Right. I mean, so send them my way and I can look at it and I can do a quote and then we can figure out what's better for them.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks.
All right. Very good, folks. So we've obviously got a couple people online. Like I said, I'm hoping they're not going to vacuum while I'm trying to talk to you guys, but I want to go over a few things with everybody. I went to Build a couple weeks ago, and one of the main things they really pushed from stage was coaching, accountability, and getting back to the basics and really doubling down on your skill set. And so one of the things that I think we as realtors kind of miss is we don't really handle our money very well. So one of the things that I got into because of Build was a thing called Rockstar Agents. It's for 4 months. It was super inexpensive. It's $100 a month. And it's group coaching. There's about 300 of us involved in it. And they've been talking about money for the last few days. So I'm like, I'm going to make that my topic to kind of just, be able to share that with you guys. And I don't know where you guys are at. This isn't telling you how to, spend your money. It's just talking about what we don't really think about as agents. So very first thing was Bill Pipes said, you've got to figure out what your worth is per hour. So if you're trying to make 150,000 or 250,000 or even $1 million a year, you have to look at that and say, okay, this is what I want to make per year. And this is how many hours I'm willing to work per week, per month, per year, whatever, and break that down and find out what your per hour rate is. And I don't think as agents, we really do that. And I think a lot of us, if we were to look at really like, hey, I'm kind of part-time in real estate. I'm only working 20 hours a week, 25 hours a week, whatever that is. And you go, I still want to make $100,000. That's probably a pretty big number. And it's probably a number in like the $150 to $200 per hour. So you're up there with close to doctors, close to attorneys in dollar per hour income. So what I would do is I would recommend you guys look at those numbers, figure out what what you want to make, like I said, per year, and then break that down, how much you're worth per hour. And then I would tell you this, if you are doing things within your daily activities that are not worth $150 per hour, then you should probably look at outsourcing those things. Maybe not get in a full-blown assistant, but there are VAs you can get out in the Philippines for super inexpensive, using things like Upwork and Fiverr if you're talking about your database. And I know people are saying, well, money's tight because I haven't closed as many deals. If you could double down and utilize your time as you were out there prospecting, doing more open houses, calling your database, which I know a lot of people are really doubling down. Molly even mentioned it kind of in our little chit chat, at the beginning here, is your best use of time is to be calling your database and trying to build those relationships, build that up. And you should not be spending an hour or two on Canva trying to create a flyer for your open house when you can hire somebody. Sorry about that, guys. So I had a phone call coming in. You can hire someone, to do that for $10 or $15. Spend the $10 or $15, buy the template, have someone knock it out for you real quick. Another thing to do that you guys can think about is maybe 4 or 5 people can, go in and get a VA in the Philippines. We're in the process of hiring one right now. So, $6 an hour, it's going to cost me about $800 a month. If we got 2 or 3 or 4 agents that would all share in that cost, that's $200 each per month. That's actually not a huge expense, even if money is tight for you. And you have someone that can now, really dive in and do some work for you so that you can be focused on other things. I don't do my own landscaping at home. I pay to take my car to get the oil changed because those are not within my skill set. And I would much prefer to be doing things that are better money making activities for me. So I wanted to kind of start with that. The second thing I wanted to dive into is I think agents as a whole, we are out there living paycheck to paycheck, or probably more like commission to commission. And I know for me, even at the beginning of this year, I only closed 2 transactions. Now, luckily, we've got 4 or 5 coming in. But if I had not planned well enough or learned a couple of years back to put my money into a bank account and to start paying myself a salary, and then to start setting money aside for my taxes at the every single time I close a deal. So I'm going to break it down for you guys this way. You close a deal of $10,000. You should be taking anywhere from 10 to 30% of that and putting it into a special bank account that is to pay your taxes. And like I said, I'm not telling you guys how to spend your money and what to do with your money. I'm just sharing with you guys something that has worked for me. In my first probably 14 years of real estate, I was commission to commission. And now luckily I always did fairly well. And I always had commissions kind of coming in, but there were tons and tons of times where I didn't have commissions coming in and we were living on credit cards. And even the last few months, I had some money in savings. We are taking a set salary every single month. I'm still running a little bit shy. So thankful I put that money into, like I said, savings account. So I would recommend, based on talking to different tax people, some of the coaches that have been on my calls, is anywhere from 10% to 30% should be set aside into your tax/savings account. And you can start it at 10% and start kicking up a little bit as you start to, do better with your finances. The other thing, the next thing is to set yourself on a salary. So, we all know that a lot of times we go and close that big commission, we get $20,000, we close a nice big deal, and then we go out and buy a $40,000 car, right? So you put some money down, you got this huge payment now, and you're like, oh, I went through that whole thing. It is so much better for you guys, like I said, in long term. And it took me probably a full year to really get into a cycle of budgeting. So you set aside, like I said, that money, put it into your savings account, your tax account, and then I put the rest into my general fund, which is my business account. And then my wife and I take a salary from ours. So there's always money left over in that account, so that, hey, if next month I don't close a deal, I still get to pull my salary. We take a very minimal salary. It's not, some crazy number. And that way, what I do is I help kind of even out the ebbs and flows. It helps to make my life as a real estate professional very, very kind of calm and relaxed, instead of those times where you go, I got 3 deals going and everything's good and I'm about to close all these deals, and you end up with this big chunk of funds. But then you realize I've been working so hard inside those transactions, I wasn't building for the next set of transactions. And now I hit that lull, and you have that low point, and you're like, okay, well, I already spent all that money. So the things that, like I said, focus on really are going to be figuring out what your budget is for you as a real estate professional. And you have to look at that and say, hey, this is my budget, but this is what I can afford to really make. And it's probably going to be a little bit closer to Taco Bell salary than you really think it is to start, because you're really starting from scratch. One of the things that real estate agents, get into the business for is we all think, oh my gosh, I get to make my own schedule. I can work when I want to. I get to play golf. At least that's what I think. I get to play golf when I want to. I'm going to go to these cool events. I'm going to have lunch with all my friends. But you don't realize that you're not putting together like a structure. And you might have been used to punching a clock. I mean, I worked at FedEx. I worked graveyard, but I was scheduled to be there at a certain time. I got off at a certain time. I had a certain set schedule, even though I was in management, and I had a salary or an hourly wage when I first started that came to me. And I knew every, 15th and or 10th and 25th, this is when I get paid. I know what my checks are. Well, in real estate, we don't have that. So that's why putting together that salary really does help you guys to even out those ebbs and flows. But like I said, the very first thing is you got to figure out is what is your base set like guideline for your family from a business perspective, what you guys need to, your budget. That's the word I was looking for. Sorry. And then the other thing is, like I said, you've got to figure out what is your worth per hour, because you are worth so much more than you are giving yourself credit for. I think there are a lot of people that, I'm going to discount my rate. I'm going to do a listing for 1%. And you think, well, it's going to take me 10 hours of work to do this listing, to go through the marketing process and to go through the contract negotiations and to get it closed. Well, if you do a 1% listing on a $500,000 deal, it's only $5,000. Well, 20%-ish, most of us, that's going to be your taxes. So now you're down to $4,000. Hopefully you put in a few $100s into marketing. So now you're down to $3,500. And if you do any kind of follow-up with your clients over the next few years to hopefully get more referrals, you're going to spend a few $100s on that. So now you made $3,000. So $3,000 might be enough for some of us to survive on. Probably not in California, but like in Montana or Missouri, it's totally possible. So you just discounted yourself, and ultimately you're not really thinking through all of the pieces of your budget. So real quick, any questions? I want to just ask before I jump into my next little phase here. All right, so then I'm going to ask you guys a couple quick questions since nobody has any questions. Is everybody on this call have a budget for yourself and your family, or wherever you rank, head of household, whatever? Stacy, good. Cheryl and Molly, we can't see you, so we'll have to.
No, I don't have a budget. I'm more on the roller coaster budgeting plan, budget based on what's coming in.
How do you like that?
It's good and bad. I used to be more strict with the budget, and I've just kind of lately been doing it a different way. And also income change. And my husband wasn't working for a year. That depleted a lot of our savings that we had. So now we're just trying to build back those nest eggs. And I do try and save out of every commission, just mainly for taxes, not to get hit with that big chunk at the end of the year.
Yeah.
But I'm working on budgeting better, and I still am pretty frugal. I'll cancel unused subscriptions and try not to buy things we don't need, but I'm not doing an actual budgeting template.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I don't follow mine like to the penny. I'm fairly newly married. I mean, most of you guys know I've been married for about a year now, but we're also empty nesters. My trip is I'm taking my son away, and now we're going to lose. Hey, I don't have this car insurance. We're going to have probably half the food and half the electricity and a bunch of other things. So we are going to now redesign our budget based on a little bit of a new lifestyle.
Oh,
So
can you put me on your budget? Like Molly's marketing funds, 500 would be sufficient. Nothing crazy.
Yeah, I got you, Molly. No problem.
Thanks, Gary.
So Cheryl, anything you want to jump in? Your budget? Are you good? You guys do a budget? Or is she away from her computer?
Hey, Gary, I
Stacey?
was going to say that, in the past, my goal was always 6 months reserves, but because the last 12 months has been so different, it's almost depleted, right? I've closed a bunch of deals the last couple months, so that's been good. But that's my goal, is to have no debt except for a car payment and my mortgage, and to have 6 months reserves and, keep the credit card debt to a very minimum. So that's been interesting because now I have a little bit of credit card debt, not a whole lot of reserves like I normally would. And so, yeah, that's what I've been working on, is just trying to get that 6 months, which that 6 months is a big chunk of change. I don't live a frugal lifestyle. So I'm like, that's a big dollar amount.
So that's funny. It's a great segue, because my second piece was, the reserve. So same thing. We decided to sell one of our rentals last year, and we took and had a nice big chunk of change all set aside, going, okay, we're going in. This is going to be, marriage, we paid cash for our wedding. And then we're all set. But same thing. We depleted 8 months of reserves. So same thing. We're building back again. So that was my next thing, is as you guys start work on your budget, you start to put your 10% to 30% away for your taxes. The next thing to do is then, of course, start your reserves. I feel like maybe I'm preaching a little Dave Ramsey. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Dave Ramsey, but I mean, it is a little bit like that. You've got to have some cash reserves, and then you've got to start to build on that 6 month reserve. And then, hopefully you're paying cash for cars, and at some point, houses are paid off. I just heard this morning, for those of us that are buying our stock, hopefully, you guys, I'm hoping and praying that each one of you, as you close your transactions, you are taking 5% of your commission and buying your EXP stock at a 10% discount. So I don't know if you guys knew this, but EXP started obviously as a penny stock. And forgive me, I don't know the exact timelines, because we've only been in for just shy of 2 years now. It went up to 100 and I want to say 160, 180. And EXP has made, I want to say they're like at 25 millionaires based on the stock, because not everybody and people held on it long enough to get to that number. But I've heard of at least 10 people that paid their mortgages off by waiting for the stock to get to a certain point, sold off their stock, and now have paid off their mortgages. So in the last 90 days, EXP stock went from $11 to it's like $23.40, I think it was, as of this morning. So it's doubled in 90 days. So I had a nice little chunk, and now I have a medium-sized chunk. And that's the other thing I was going to say is, please, if you guys have not learned about the stock options and the things that you get within EXP, when you close your first transaction each year, you get stock. When you recruit a person, you get stock. When that person that you recruited closes their first deal every single year, you get stock. And then, of course, as you close your transactions, now those are options. Those have to be 3-year vesting, just FYI, as you're recruiting or you're closing deals. Your first one of the year, those are all vesting. But anything that you purchase on your own of your transactions, you can ultimately buy it at a 10% discount. So like I said, today is $23.40. You buy 10% discount. So you buy, $230 worth for $207. You can turn and sell it right back on the market and make the 10%, right? Which obviously doesn't make a whole bunch of sense. But as you, like I said, continue to stockpile that, if you're closing deals and you're working towards your transaction goals, 100,000 a year in commissions. If you're buying 10% of stock, that should be a very nice chunk every single year. Add that up for 5-6 years. And, for some of us that are getting close to that 50 number, yes, I'm talking about myself because I'm going to be 50 in 3 months. I'm like, hey, I got 5 to 10 more years that I want to be out working, and I don't want to be in personal production for the next 10 years. But if I have to for the next 5 years, and I'm going to continue to put that stock away. So extra savings, extra stock, and definitely those budgeting things are going to help, especially while we're in these lean times. Because remember, we're just in the lower portion of, the ebbs and flows that normally come in our market cycles. Now, people think of the downturn of '08 and they think, oh, you know, the market's crashing, and they thought the same thing was going to happen this time. The market's not crashing. The market is actually still going up. Yes, we had a 10% drop for 12 months from March of 22 to March of 23, but we're already bounced back at 5 and 6%. So those people that lost that 10, 11, 12% have already gained back 6% of their valuation. So even though we've had a dip in the economy, we've had a dip in the amount of transactions, we didn't really lose value. And now, of course, we've got agents that are leaving the marketplace. So they're going to hopefully, you know, just go away fully, not try and stick it in and do one deal a year and, you know, friends and family, and hopefully refer those out to us that are staying in the grind and doing this full time. I know people that have been in 25 years that have left the business and just said, I'm not going to deal with another downturn. I'm done. I'm out. And they've gone on to other things. So for those of us that are going to stick around, these are the things that are going to help us. Is know what your hourly worth is. Find people to do those things for less expensive than you can. Like I said, Canva and things like that. My wife absolutely loves Canva. It is something that gives her joy. But I tell her, listen, we make $150 an hour. For you to spend $150 or that 1 hour, you could be making phone calls and working on a transaction when we could hire someone for $10 to do the Canva thing. And that's just the way it goes. I mean, like I said, that's the reason I look at everything within my budget and figure out, where am I spending my money? Where is it most beneficial? And where am I spending money that's going to help me to make money? You know, a transaction coordinator. So one of the things that Molly does, she is amazing. If you guys don't have a transaction coordinator, I use another lady named Annette, but that $300 or $400 that I spend saves me probably 10 hours of paperwork because I suck at it. So I'll spend the $300 to make sure that Annette does it. Or, you know, like I said, Molly's a great one as well. I know Stacey used her, DJ uses her, and several others. They will make your life so much easier, where you can go out and spend that extra time instead of doing paperwork on things that you're better at.
Thank you, Gary.
Of course. So that's kind of my talk today. Like I said, it was focused on money. It really is a coaching. It's accountability. If you guys are not getting coaching or accountability, we are going to be doing some coaching coming up in the coming months. It's going to be super, super inexpensive, like literally 25 to 30 bucks a month, something super, super easy. We didn't want to do it for free, only because when you get it in there for free, people are like, oh yeah, it's free, I'll get it next time. So we have to have some skin in the game. Most likely, we're going to take that money that is paid for by the agents and give it out like in gift cards and do a lunch or something along those lines. It's not like we're trying to make money at it. We just want some opportunity for you guys to work on scripts and learn some budgeting techniques, because this is one of my courses. One of my modules in the course is this class right here that I'm talking to you guys about. So hope that helped. Hope that was beneficial to you guys. Hope you guys learned something, got to engage, got to see my smiling face. Anything else? Any questions? Any answers?
No, thank you. That was interesting. I think that we all need a reminder that we get these big checks and then boom, especially if things haven't been closing, and then that wipes it out, and then you're back to scratch, right? You're back to transactional budgeting, which is not the way to go. You're doing it backwards.
Yeah, like I told you guys, we had saved up. I mean, I literally had 6 figures in the bank, and I am closing. We just closed one. We've got one closing on the 7th, one closing on the 14th. I am literally taking all of that money and I am paying off all the rest of my credit card debt. So I'm now back to zero. And then we've got 2 or 3 closing that I'm like, all right, now I'm going to start to build up the reserve tank again, just to try and build that momentum going forward and get back into it, because we are going into fall. It's going to happen faster than we think. And so we got to think of everything we can to keep that momentum train going. All right. Thank you guys very, very much. I appreciate you all being on here, and I will see you all live and in person. I'm back in my office. If you need anything, I'll be on the boat the rest of the day, but my phone is on. My computer will hopefully be charged back up by the end of the day, and I will be available via email, text message if you guys need anything. Have a great day. Bye, everyone.